What's up, everybody? It's Semperverse here. Today I'm going to be bringing you the Blue Snowball Microphone. So basically, if you haven't been watching, I've been doing some sort of Let's Plays with my friend Dorman, but we've been using a Rockstar microphone from the old PlayStation 2 days. So before I knew he actually found that, I decided to pick up one of these to do some better audio recording. So we're gonna be taking a look at that today. As you can see, it's kind of about the size of my hand. It's kind of big, a lot bigger than what I expected. I expected it to be more like that when I saw the pictures. But I've heard some good reviews on it. I've seen it in action. It looks like it sounds really good so far. So some of the specifications: it's plug and play, superior sound. It claims to be CD quality sound, which, from my understanding, that implies that it's 48,000 kilohertz rather than the typical 44,100, or even lower than that on some microphones, which has been a pretty standard thing. So, without further ado, I'm going to stop this video here and switch over to check out the actual audio, which I will just be including in the video. Alright, see you soon. Okay, so welcome back. I know that was about half a second for you, but it was about 10-20 minutes for me. So, let's get down to the basics. What you're hearing right now is me speaking into the Blue Snowball microphone. And I was doing some reading in the user manual, and it covers some of the actual technical specifications. So I'm going to read them off for you in case you can't see them on the screen, which you should be seeing right about now. The transducer type is a condenser pressure gradient with USB digital output. I did a little bit of research on this. I'm not quite sure, but basically it's a vibrating metallic contact that works sort of like the way your bone does on the inside of your ear, where it rattles and taps against things to create the signal, which I guess would create a more accurate sound. There's a polar pattern, cardioid position 1, cardioid with negative 10 decibel pad, which is position 2, and omnidirectional, which is position 3. And I'm going to cover more of that in a bit, as the manual also does. I'm actually kind of just reading off of it right now. The sample per word is 44.1 kilohertz for every 16 bits. And that basically means the amount of sound data that can cram into a 16-bit word, which is interesting because normally a 32-bit system has a 32-bit word, and a 64-bit has 64-bit word, blah, blah, blah. If you'd like to go look up what a word is in computer science, feel free to do so. I'm not going to delve into that just now. But it's quite small. So, one thing I did notice, though, when I was tweaking with the Snowball in the Windows sound panel, was that it actually supports DVD quality, which is 48 kilohertz sample rate, which is what I have it set to right now. Nothing less than the best. So the first position, which is, I should mention, there's a switch on the back of the Snowball. You don't actually have to configure anything in software, which is really nice. So the first setting is speech, vocals, and podcasting, which is what I'm doing now. Then the second setting is live music and loud sound sources, which, based on what I was reading before with it being a cardioid with a negative 10 decibel response, what that is it's what I'm using now, but with a reduction in sound sensitivity. And then the third position is for conferences, interviews, and environmental recordings, which sounds to be quite handy for what I'm trying to do with my game recordings with my friend Dorman. So, say we're trying to record Metal Gear Solid, which you may or may not be following at the moment. I would turn this to switch 3, set this in the middle of us, turn the sound source for the actual game in Open Broadcaster software off, so I wouldn't be recording the actual source, and then just have the Blue microphone pick up what everything in the room sounds like instead. And I don't know what the sound quality of that is quite yet, because I haven't had a chance to test it, but it seems like, based off of everything that I'm reading, that it should work just fine. We'll have to experiment with that and play with it. Right now, we're using a cheap Rockstar microphone from the old PlayStation 2 game Rockstar, which so far it's worked okay, but you kind of have to lean in sort of close for it to pick you up at all. And turning up the volume or the decibels or the mic boost kind of gives a staticky, kind of like you can hear the air really well, which I'm not quite sure on this one just yet. I did a test recording and it sounded like you could hear the actual air sounds from what I was hearing from traffic and whatnot. So, with that being said, we are moving on. There is, in the manual, there's a graph that displays frequency response to the amount of decibels that you are making with your mouth. So what I'm gathering from this, and I'm not quite sure what it translates to in the real world, but I'll be studying this later, is just how loud you need to be at each pitch. And the higher your pitch, the louder you might need to be up until a certain point where it drops off. Sort of like the human ear. So again, with that bone rattling, seems like it sounds like it would be exactly like the human ear, which is good because we want to target our ears. The simple how to set up guide, which boiled down to plugging in the USB cable, plugging it into the microphone as well, and then configuring it in the sound recording panel, which was super easy. Didn't take me more than 2 minutes to finish all of that, and most of the time was spent finding the actual settings in the panel. Has Macintosh set up, Windows set up. Let's see. Looks like it tells you to go into the sound tab. Suggested applications, podcasting, home video, voiceover, instant messaging. It's kind of funny that they list those two. And then one of the things that I want to give a shot is the music recording, which I do have an electric piano. It was kind of a cheap one, but you know, unfortunately it doesn't have any pressure sensitivity, so all I have is direct input, and it's not a full, I believe it was 86 key range or something. It's about 8 or 10 keys short, yeah. So then there's an FAQ, software setups, covers a few different things. If you use Pro Tools, I don't know what that is, but it looks like it won't work with that because it needs actual jack input. Special software, no, depending on your operating system. My Snowball is plugged in, but I'm not able to hear the levels. Things to double check is the red LED, blah blah blah. Basically all the regular technical troubleshooting that you should know how to do as someone who's decent at computers, or for those of you who aren't, just run through this list. So it looks like it is generic enough to use more than one at a time if your software supports it, which is good. But I don't see why you would need it unless you have one laptop in between 2 rooms or something. And maybe for a LAN type setting, a competitive LAN. Cardioid, omnidirectional, why should I care? These are 2 polar patterns the Snowball is capable of producing. If you think polar patterns are the same, or as the same shape of the area that a microphone hears, quote unquote, omnidirectional hears everything at equal volume from all angles in a 360-degree sphere surrounding the mic, while cardioid only hears what's right in front of it at full volume and other sounds at increasingly diminishing volume as the sound source moves further away from the center of the mic. Audio techs call this off-axis. You should care because one of the most useful features of a microphone is the ability to control its pickup. We like polar patterns so much that some of our professional studio microphones have as many as 9 different patterns. Okay, that sounds a bit excessive, but alright. So with the Snowball, we've given you the 2 most likely to be useful to you. What is the Snowball used for? Is it a vocal mic, instrument, or both? The Snowball is designed to provide a wide range of applications where a high-quality transducer, a fancy way to say microphone, is needed, but so is ease of use and setup. Though most professional engineers prefer certain microphones for certain applications, we designed the Snowball for use with a wide variety of sources. With that being said, that might not necessarily be a good thing because you wind up spreading your resources thin and it might not come out as high of a quality. However, from my tests so far, that doesn't sound to be the case. Here are some suggested applications. see, instrument and voice recording, pre-production, demos, DV looping, dialogue, podcasting, sound effects, audio sampling, interactive programming, video sweetening. Not sure what that is, but post, internet telephony, internet conferencing, and recording lectures. So that's it for the manual. On for the actual build quality of the thing. So the ball itself actually feels incredibly heavy, which to me is a good thing because it keeps it from moving around too much on the desk. But for packing and traveling, that might not be so desirable. Now, the other thing is on the stand. It is telescoping by about 2 or 3 inches or so, which, you know, is kind of nice. It's handy to have. And the base of it, I don't know if any of you have ever played Pikmin, but if you remember the onions that the Pikmin come out of, the stand kind of reminds me of that. Like, it's got the little onion, it's got the legs, and then it's got the snowball stand on top of it. The one thing I don't like is when to telescope it, it works kind of, you know how like a drill bit works on an electric drill where you unscrew it to loosen it and then screw it to tighten it? Well, the top half of the mount, which I'm actually playing with right now, I don't know if you can hear that, but it doesn't quite, and this is just me being OCD, but it doesn't quite like to center properly. Everything holds just fine, it's nice and tight, it's really good, but other than that, the angle can wind up being cockeyed, which just drives me nuts. It looks like you can kind of push it around a little bit with your thumb and then tighten it up some more, but, you know, whatever. And that's it for the build quality. Otherwise, it looks like it's really good. It's got a mesh covering with what looks to be a pop filter built in, and an open back. The sound source in Windows said that it had 2 channels, which I'm not quite sure why it would need that. I wonder if it supports sort of stereo surround, so you can hear me off to the right here and then off to the left here, which I'll have to be, again, playing with later. As far as the packaging goes, it looks like it was pretty sturdy. You know, for cheap plastic, it had some nice cardboard packing in the back. Well, not really nice, but stiff enough that it would hold it all together. I did order this off of Amazon.com, and they included a ridiculous amount of bubble, not quite bubble wrap, but those big, what do you call them? They look like they're 2-inch by 6-inch air pockets. Air Plus by Storo Pack. And reduce, reuse, recycle, and it's very thin plastic. Let's see if I can actually pop one here. Alright, cover your ears. Oh yeah, that's delicious. Fan of popping packing material, if you haven't noticed. But yeah, so packaging weird. Shipping great, came in good condition. Very shiny. I like it a lot. Alright, so I'll see you guys next time, and hopefully you'll be hearing more, or at least higher quality recordings from me in the future. Alright, and I am out.